So it's not a podcast anymore. Welcome to the ReUp. Hello and welcome. My name is Jason Delgado. You might remember me from the Almost There podcast, which has a very similar background and a very similar person. But we decided to change it up. Now we're calling this the ReUp. It's video focused. Podcasts are long. You know, sometimes they go 30 minutes, 60 minutes. I don't know. You know, they have guests, more interesting topics. So I decided to change the format, not calling it a podcast, calling it the ReUp. And it's still me, Jason Delgado. This is still the Orsini Studios in beautiful Los Angeles, California. And we're still on kind of the same mission. I'm a stand-up comedian, or trying to be a stand-up comedian. You are always a stand-up comedian. You are what you believe in, but professional stand-up comedian here in Los Angeles, and this is kind of like a little bit of the journey, a little bit of every week, kind of discussing things I went through, things I'm learning as a person, as a comedian, you know, as the balance of trying to keep a job and be an adult and then also live your dream, and then, you know, it's a re-up, it's us reconnecting, it's us re-upping in the good spirit, and trying to keep the wolves at bay, as they say. The depressed as wolves at bay. But yeah, things are going good this week, so we'll get into it. It is the ReUp. I even tried to do a whole background here, like a green screen, and then had a black background and made me look like a drama teacher. I was going to wear a turtleneck. But nah, it just didn't fit, didn't look right. I thought, you know, just be raw, be you. And so here it is, the Orsini Studios once again. No background, no spaceships, no cool scenery yet, but soon, we hope, as the ReUp progresses. But yeah, decided to change it up just because, you know, the ReUp is good. It's like, this has kind of become more of like my sort of thoughts of the week, things that I did and saw as a comedian, and kind of like things that I learned, you know, my ever-growing knowledge thirst. But yeah, we'll get into it. This week is about bombing. Yeah, bombed hard this week, and it's just good. I've bombed before, but this was interesting. So, well, how did I bomb, you ask? Like, what would you consider a bomb? Not necessarily people booing, but kind of absolute nothing. I may have a clip, actually. Let me see if I can air that. Let's see if it airs right now. You know, I got invited to one of my friends, like, meet the baby parties. You know, they're having babies, they have mortgages. You know, I had to wear my sport coat, my brown shoes, just a bunch of adults hanging out, talking about things I don't know. And we get in line to meet the baby, and I see my friend, I see his wife, I see the baby, and I'm like, man, that's a fat baby. And I was like, I'm not gonna call the baby, like, I'm 27% adult, man, I'm not gonna call a baby fat in front of people. And I also, like, I know babies are a little fat and a little chunky, but this was different. All right, this was like sci-fi fat. It was like a little Dune baby. Just like a little head in the middle, just cheeks, like, oh, Parker, do blah, blah. Like, very disconcerting. And so I didn't want to say anything, but I'm like, you know, we're friends for 30 years, man. Is this how we do as adults? You know, we can't, you know, call it like it is. And then my friend in front of me, you know, full sport coat portfolio guy, looks at the kid and goes, whoa. And I was like, my man, is he going to do it? Is he going to, you know, address the baby elephant in the room? And he looks at the kid and he goes, man, that's a solid kid you got there, friend. I was like, solid! Oh, my child brain couldn't find the adult word. I jumped right in. I was like, that is a solid kid you got there, friend. Let me tell you. I'm going to check that kid's cholesterol. He's so solid. In fact, old Dune baby. So as you could see, nothing, right? So just nothing. Just me doing the bits and nothing happening. Which is good, because, you know, makes you learn kind of what needs some work, but sometimes it's not. Just because I think sometimes you could put yourself in a Debbie Downer where a bit works and you just don't get a laugh, so you feel like that bit is not going to work, you know. And that day, you know, I didn't record anybody else, but like, there were a lot of people who had some really good jokes and just weren't getting any love. I even had a fellow comedian text me who I had seen on the way out, and he was going in to do a mic, and he was like, oh man, I bombed so hard yesterday, I'm going to have to rethink everything. And I was like, oh my God, like, everybody happened to everybody. And there was a couple odd things. It was the first hot day back in LA for some reason. Like, it was really, really hot that day, and and the room was hot, didn't have AC. I don't know if it was that, and maybe just people tired in the heat, but like people had some jokes that people were just not laughing at that I thought were funny. I even went up to another comedian and told him, one of the jokes was really good, man. I know you didn't get a laugh, but it was really funny. And so when I went up and I did the bit, and afterwards I was like, oh man, it's like, is it over? Is nothing funny anymore? But then I looked at it and I was like, you stayed in the pocket. This still kind of feels like it works for me. And sometimes you just gotta, carry on. Always room for tightening, always room for improving. But, sometimes it's I think like the overcoming of that sort of adversity, as they say for a comedian, where you don't get a laugh, you put in the effort, you don't get a laugh. Sometimes it's gauged on factors that are not necessarily based on the joke. Sometimes it's too hot. It's too hot. There's not enough AC. You know what I mean? Sometimes people had a long day. It was a Tuesday. I don't know if that means anything. But there are elements and factors that I think, when one of the things in sort of the personal development that I'm going through, as all of us I'm sure do, but, kind of like I'm on that sort of, now that I'm 40 and needing to become a man, be a man, an adult person. I feel like a lot of what I'm coming through is sort of like perception. Like what you see an event as, or what you see a moment as, that perception is what you stick with you. And sometimes if you don't have a clear picture of that perception, it's just your memory. So like if I hadn't recorded my session, my memory of that would just be like, dude, you suck. You just suck. And I don't think that's true. Like, I think, there's always room for improvement, but I don't think the jokes suck. Like, I just think it's like, you just weren't getting it going that day. But, like, the reality was when I saw the video of it and I watched it, I was like, it wasn't as bad as I remember it, the perception of it. And I think so much of that is everything. How you perceive things and how you look at things and how you hold on to that. And I have, like, a buddy of mine text me and be like, said it's over, all my jokes are for naught. Like, it makes me think, like, so much of that is just perception. Block is hot, 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 block is hot. The sirens are here because we're getting deep and poetic about it. We're getting spiritual. That's a spiritual siren. But it's true. I feel like so much of it is perception. If you believe something to be a certain way, you carry that with you. And we do it all the time. Like, when the mind wanders, it's a time traveler. It'll go back in time. Find something that you were, embarrassed about or did stupid, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It'll hold on to that and bring it back with you in the future because, like, something in the future reminded you. Like, you could be in a moment, perceiving something, somebody will do something, and that'll remind you something that happened 5 years ago. Your mind will shoot back. It'll get those bad feelings, and it'll bring them back to the future, and now you're here with that and this. And that's perception. That's, like, marring perception. And I do that, and I know, like, that's one of the things that I focus on, like, being present, don't letting the mind wander that way where you're like, in a moment will happen. Don't shoot to the past, or worse off, shoot to the future and like imagine something like that didn't even exist. Hold on to that terrible feeling, bring it back to the present, and then go forth. Like that's not the way that you need to go about doing things. And I think that's an important thing for me to learn. Like the perception, don't go back and be like, everything was terrible. Bring that forward and then go like, now walk around as the person with everything terrible. Like, first off, better to go back and be like, you crushed it, nobody laughed, but you're still king. And then roll back with that and hold on to that in the future. Because it's better to walk around with a perception that there's still hope and possibility as opposed to like everything's over. I think it was nice that I had a video because I was able to go like, it wasn't as bad as you remembered it. But at the same time, I did that. On my way home, before I watched the video, I just shot back and I was like, you were awful, nobody laughed. Walk home with that. And then I just felt like, oh, man. And you watch and you're like, not too bad. Definitely remembered it worse. And I was walking around with that. And it made me think, you can't do that. And then I try, because I do that with moments in my past. Like if I have something, like I said, there's a comedian, I forgot who was at a great bit. It's like, you ever do something really embarrassing and then remember it and then think about it 8 years later or something like that? I'm ruining it. But it's that sort of concept where like, something will happen. somebody will cut you off or somebody will say something, you'll be like, that's just like that person that did that to me 5 years ago. And I go back there, but remember that, feel that feeling. Now bring it back with you to the present. Hold on to that. And then talk to this new person, like as if all that is with you. And that's what we do. Like, that's what I do. And I think that's something that I need to correct and measure. And so now when I go back, if I have those moments, I remember them different. I give them different memories. Or I just like hug that scared child who had done something embarrassing, and I bring him back to the future and go like, hey, walk with this guy because you didn't know any better. Now you're this person. And so when those things where it's like, for me, connecting it to sort of doing bits, when I have a bit, and it doesn't work out, or a set doesn't work out, or anything like that, an experience like that where you try a new thing and it just totally bombs. Or worse off, you get heckled. I had a guy who, I was like 2 minutes into my set, and he goes, that's been 15 minutes. Genius. But, when you have a moment like that, I think it's important to go like perspective. You're trying a new joke, or hey, it was hot, or like, hey, there's always room for improvement, but not in this like, you said something, it didn't get response, now it's over. Because it's not true. It's not true, and it's also, it's a bad feeling to kind of keep running in your mind. Because the reality of it is it probably wasn't as bad as you remember it. And also, it's always better to go back, give that a better meaning. Hug that scared child or that embarrassed child that might be in the past. Bring that person back. Or go back and remember and be like, hey, you were doing your best. You flowed. I stayed in the pocket. That was the thing. The worst thing I could do is do it and then fail at the end. Where I go like, tell a joke, it doesn't work. And I go, but like, anyway, like, where it's like, you didn't even believe in your pocket. You just faltered. After nobody said anything, you just faltered. Better to just do a joke, get nothing, stay quiet, go to the next joke, in my opinion. Because it's at least fail with dignity, I guess, is something. But, like, that's the way I feel. I feel like there's an important element to that where I need to sort of, and that overcoming adversity. Congratulations, by the way, to the Raptors, who won the NBA championship. And also, part of that vein, that theme of overcoming adversity. Lawler's Law in Game 6, it was 101. First for Golden State, thought they were going to do it. Then the turnover, thought it was going to happen. But they stayed in the pocket. Believed in themselves, came with some big shots, and won. And they won. They beat the beast that is Golden State. And they did it. They did it really well, man. I'm really happy for them because it was cool to see like a new champion, a new breed, and also the adversity of Kawhi overcoming all that stuff to kind of make it, and sort of the believing in yourself and needing to learn to believe in yourself, because that believing in yourself is all you got at the end of the day. And like, I think it's tougher for people like NBA. I can't even imagine where like there's a story and a narrative created for them that's put out into the world, and then they got to live with that when that may not be the truth. And so to see somebody like that overcoming that kind of adversity, that's inspiring to me. Because my daily, like, people were mean to me on the phone, like, hey, you can get over it, all right? Your career wasn't in jeopardy. And sort of like seeing, hey, what did he do? And it's perspective, and it's perception, and it's not being too boisterous, and it's not being too down on yourself. It's just kind of staying in that pocket. And that was one of those things that I really appreciate about Kawhi. He has this sort of like, it's a temperament thing, but it's also it's something to be proud of, to not be too boisterous. You know what I mean? The ego is the enemy, as they say. But yeah, so that was pretty much it this week. It was bombing, overcoming adversity, and being a ReUp now instead of an Almost There podcast. Even though we're discussing the same things, going through the same sort of vibe and feel, we're going to do this regularly. It's going to be video. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get a cool background and stuff like that. But there'll be topics like this. It'll just be talking about the week in comedy, and then how that connected with the ever-growing expansion of the mind, the leveling up, the feeling good about yourself, the bettering yourself, all those good things as they connect to following the dream. Whether it's comedy or doing whatever. Maybe you want to be the ultimate juggler. Hopefully, this will connect in some way with that, too. But, overcome adversity by keeping your perspective good. Don't go back and make a bad story and bring it forward with you. Always keep a good story. Keep good chi. Stay in the pocket. Things that I learned this week. This was fun. This was the first, ReUp, episode 1. So thank you for joining us. Or me. I guess Gemini could be us. But thank you for joining me. My name is Jason Delgado. I'm very grateful. I will see you on the next The ReUp episode 2, and that will hopefully be next Monday or Tuesday. But yeah, it's going to be a regular weekly thing, doing it on the ones and twos. So we'll see you on the next one.